Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by Bet UK, where we all rejoice as we get to finally talk jump racing again. The freeze has finally thawed off, so fortunately we do have some top class action to go to war with this weekend. A bumper 9 race card at Cheltenham, as well as some top-notch races from Doncaster as well. So all of us, we could not be happier right now, finally back talking what we love. But we did, of course, have to acknowledge a fair amount of all-weather racing last weekend, some very good racing in its own right. But because of that, we did sort of lack a little bit maybe on the winners front, as we tend to expect. We only had about half an hour really to preview it anyway. So just to recap, we did have Smith placing at 12-1 for Andrew and Allegala winning at 10-11 for me as my nap, as I did put very tongue-in-cheek on Twitter that God, I'm good. Some of the sarcasm may have gone over a few people's head, but otherwise it was we'll bypass last weekend. Yeah, but hopefully we'll have more to go towards this weekend. And we're going to begin with the Grade 1 Clarence House Chase for 5-year-olds and over 2 miles at 120, rescheduled from Ascot, of course. Not unfortunately the same prize money, but with the same 3 original horses at least, plus 3 more. So Daryl, massive field. How are you playing it?
Yeah, I think Edward Stone. No, not Edward Stone. No. Nergamine, the other E. I think he wins. 8.15, I think, is a fair price. I was pretty confident that he would beat Edward Stone last week at Ascot, but there's a couple of extra players in the field now that could just bring down your confidence a little bit more, just because they can get in the way and like sizing Potsy in here. You don't know what he's going to do. But Editor to Gite looks like he's going to try and make all the running. But I'd fancy an Ergamine to pick these up and clear away. I think he's miles better than these. I tipped Edward Stone for the Tingle Creek, and this is not a pat on the back. The reason I did was because I felt that the race was pretty weak on the ground. I thought that Grenadine would have left his race at Exeter. Now, he normally runs one big race every single year, and it's normally at Sandown. Now, he did run well to be beaten 9 lengths, but it wasn't quite the calibre that he produced the year before. So I do think that Paul, he admitted himself he had him ready for his life at Exeter. I think he might have left his race there a little bit. Shishkin was a bit of a dodgy favourite because he was returning from injury. So he sort of had to be taken on. And the rags of the field, Gentleman to Me and Dunvegan, Gentleman to Me's been beaten 40 lengths by Blue Lord, and Dunvegan's been beaten in the handicap at his favoured Fairy House next time. So I'm not overly convinced that the form is as strong. In saying that, I kind of like last year we came to the conclusion that the Novices just weren't that strong. And I think a lot of people are making a U-turn on that. I wouldn't make a U-turn on that so quickly, simply because of that one run in the Tingle Creek. I think that while Edward Stone is a fantastic horse, I do think it was a below par bunch last year. And I think that him and Blue Lord are sort of the younger legs in the division that is very weak on the ground. So I don't see any reason why Energamine shouldn't continue at the top of the tree, and he'd be for me at 8.15.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with absolutely everything you just said, to be fair. And if you won't give yourself a pat on the back, we will for that Tingle Creek tipping up of Edward Stone all the same anyway. But I am in total agreement. I still don't want to do the U-turn of thinking the Novices are all of a sudden, we've got them completely wrong. Because like you say, I just can't physically do that. So yeah, an Ergamine for both of us too probably is a fair price at 8-15 all the same. Andrew, are you also with an Ergamine?
No, I'll take him on. I mean, last year's Champion Chase was pretty poor, really, wasn't it? I mean, Funambule Civilo was second at 40-1, has been beaten in all 3 subsequent outings and has proved very disappointing this season. Envoy Allen won over 3 miles next time and just went off too fast that day, didn't he? Over 2. Politolog's retired. Put the Cattle on, I think she's been retired as well. Chacun Pour Soi was still in contention when he unseated. He's been well beaten in 2 starts. He's an 11-year-old. It was more like a veterans chase, wasn't it? I think last year. Look at the age of them. So I'd rather side with some Edward Stone against him. And as well, Energamine's jumping can let him down. He made a couple of mistakes in the Champion Chase, and when he doesn't make mistakes, it tends to be when he bowls along in the front and gets left alone when he's 9-1 on running in Ireland, as he was a couple of runs ago. So maybe he can make a mistake. Maybe that will affect him. I don't think you want to be backing him at 8-15. I'd rather be at Edward Stone at 2-1. I mean, pace wise, I was quite interested in Amarillo Sky when there was only 3 runners to outrun his odds and maybe get second if one of the others underperformed. But now Editor de Gite and Amarillo Sky are likely to take them along. It's complicated slightly. Not a betting race for me, but for the purpose of this video, I'll go Edwardstone.
Yeah, taking on Energumene then with Edwardstone for the British, at least anyway, to hopefully hold on to that race for them. Right, more hopefully of a betting heat in our next race. This is a Premier Handicap Chase for 5-year-olds and over 2 mile 4.5 furlongs at 150. Another one of these wide open 2.5 mile Cheltenham Handicap Chases, which we all love. So Andrew, over to you, please.
Yeah, this is a belter, isn't it? It's all the usual suspects again. Il Rodotto and Fugitive heading the betting round about 5 to 1, according to the prices I've got in front of me. Now, the interesting thing about Fugitive, who was impressive at Chepstow last time, that run came on officially soft ground. According to Proform, the time the going was good. If you look at the time of that, it was about 11 seconds below standard. Definitely not a soft ground time for Chepstow that day. And previously, he has underperformed on soft ground. So, obviously at the moment, soft, frozen in places, they're calling Cheltenham. We're kind of guessing as to how it's going to ride. But if it is genuinely soft, I think Fugitive could be vulnerable here. I prefer Il Rodotto of the pair. He's got the cheek pieces on for the first time. That's a positive angle for the Nichols yard, particularly with horses who finished out of the first 3 last time out, as Il Rodotto did. Although that wasn't a disgrace, was it? He was 4th in the Paddy Power Gold Cup as well in November. So he's got plenty of previous in these sort of races. I thought he'd go well. Of the rest, Guy is going to be the one I'm going to be using in the Tote Exacta to finish second to the field, or in the trifecta to finish second, with anything else winning or finishing third. He's a right old fruitcake, and he snatched defeat from the jaws of victory on a number of occasions. And the cheap pieces didn't help in that regard last time out when he was third. And I think if you want one at a big price, it could provide a bit of value in the place pot. Stick Guy in there. Of the others, Phoenix Way is particularly interesting. He's older than the average winner of this race, but he's got a good record in January, including his point-to-point form. It's 4 wins from 4 starts. Now, he was 4th to Fugitive at Chepstow last time. The ground would have been quicker than ideal, and he did best of those to come from off the pace. We know that Chepstow's Chase courses a front runners benefit. Just look at the Welsh National. So Phoenix Way 16 to 1, he'll go well. And the other one on the shortlist is another Paul Nicholls first time cheek pieced horse, which is Simply the Bets. It could be better than all the rest. And he was quite well supported for a similar race last time out. I think in the Paddy Power Gold Cup as well. So if the cheek pieces makes the difference to him, David Maxwell could have his another day in the sun. So yeah, short list of 4. Picking between them is pretty tricky. I'll go for Phoenix Way, given that 4 from 4 January record.
Cool. So out of those 3, Phoenix Way is one that ggets the vote 16 to 1. You slip in these puns so subtly that you almost miss them, but that was very good anyway. To simply,
it's like being hit by a train. I don't think there's anything subtle about that.
Subtle for my brain anyway, my slow brain. Or Guy to finish second against the field then at 16 to 1 his current price. Daryl, who do you like?
Yeah, I like the favourite Fugitive, and I like Phoenix Way as well. Phoenix Way would have been prepped for a repeat bid at the Ascot race last week, but it was obviously called off. So they've come here. I think that was the target for him all season. So he's going to be ready and raring to go, I think. And as Andrew said, he did really well from the rear of the field in that Chepstow race. No horse, especially on deep ground, can sort of come from off the pace at that track with that downhill run down to the home straight. And I thought he was better than the bare result there. But I do think that I will be backing him. I do think that Fugitive has got a hell of a lot in hand, though. I think he's a very well handicapped horse. The fact that he was here second to Amarillo Sky, who's since won on his previous start, it shows that he handles the course. He sort of hung that day in behind runners, and we sort of questioned his attitude, I think, afterwards. And there was no worries about that next time at Chepstow. He recorded an RPR of 152. He was off 133. He's up £10 off 1343 now. I think he's still got more in hand. This horse. I think he's pretty useful. I couldn't have Il Rodito. He seems very, very tripless to me. How many times is he going to finish third, fourth, staying on, not staying on, over 2 miles, 2.5 miles? Reminds me very much of Magic Saint as well. Like that, those 2 horses tend to sort of have no trip. I just want to mention one in here. because I'll put him up for the Grand Annual at 40-1, and that's a horse called All Mankind, is the outside of the entire field. This horse is dropping very rapidly in the handicap, and I've been keeping very close eye on him. He's been given hold up rides at the rear of the field. Again, he was in that fugitive race at Chepstow. He actually ran much better than the results suggest. They was giving him a very easy time of things. Now, for an out-and-out front runner who's been held up for the majority of this season, he's dropped from 163 down to 149. So I'm hoping that he's going to drop back to 2 miles, go from the front in the Grand Annual, and be very hard to beat. He did run that course in the Arkle a few years ago when he got into a battle with Captain Guinness, and Shishkin picked him up. But I think he's a well-handicapped horse, but I can't advise backing him for this, because if he lines up at the rear of the field, then I'm assuming that they're sort of doing a job on him. But if he's sort of lingering around the front, then he might just be worth a couple of quid as a bit of a saver. But I do think
well done for mentioning All Mankind without calling him the Dan Skelton cheaty horse.
Yeah, that's
very well done.
Very, very true. But I do think there is bigger targets ahead for him. I mean, this is a 56 grand race. If they wanted to, I assume if they were going to be targeting this, I would assume Harry would be on him rather than being on Spirit of the Games. But Fugitive, yeah, I'll stick with Fugitive with a saver on Phoenix Way.
Cool. Yeah, I like it. But like I say, do just watch out for All Mankind though, the same. Because like you say, considering he is an out and out, well, what in his best days, he was an out and out front runner. No one could get near him because he was a bit tapped in the head. Yeah, still only 7 though, this lad, and the outsider of the field. So yeah, to see how he's lining up, but could potentially be the Grand Annual angle then when it comes down to it. Now, I'm pleased that the pair of you two have given, well, a good shout out to Fugitive at least anyway, because I was toying between the two, Fugitive and Your Darling. So I'm going to back them both. But for the purposes of this podcast and the fact that neither of you have gone for him yet, I'll go for Your Darling, available at the bigger each way price of 10-1. So I think that this drop back in trip should really suit him after he just didn't get home over the 3-mile trip at Kempton last time out. That was off of a £10 higher mark following his win at Ascot over 2-mile 5. And the last time out, as I say, was his first go over 3 miles. So I can forgive that run. Still think there's more mileage in this mark, and he's been given £1 back for last time out. But also Fugitive, because of all the reasons you've both said about him, then returned in just such a better light. And he managed to build on that second when he was behind the very well handicapped Amarillo Sky on his reappearance at Cheltenham. But he was just suited by the longer trip last time out, wasn't he? Dotted up, ultimately he was eased, remains unexposed over 2-mile 4, and you just know, you knew he was going to be hammered by the handicapper last time out. He was, because of that £10 rise. But I agree with you, Daryl. I think there's still far more mileage in him over this distance. Now we head to Doncaster for the Grade 2 Yorkshire Rose Mares Hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles and half a furlong at 2:05. A race that has been won by some stars in the past. And one star we have in here is a wonderful Epatante, who is our short price favourite. So again, Daryl, how are you playing this one?
Oh, she's an absolute certainty. Yeah, I was hovering around the prices at opening just to see if they would make a mistake, maybe put her in at, I don't know, 4 to 5 or something like that. But
did anyone know?
No. She should be shorter than 1 to 3, in my opinion. You could have her at 1 to 10. I wouldn't be grumbling at that. She's an absolute certainty. Dropping back in grade E into a grade 2. A lot of these arrive here out of form. I mean, Martello Sky was very disappointing, I thought, against Love Envoy last time. Cheap pieces now go on. The rest have got a good bit of fire. I think Gallus McCarlo might be the bet without, but I haven't seen price for that. But my goodness me, I don't even think that Epatante's been really I don't think she's been given a real race by Aidan Coleman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The reason is because Constitution Hill's been in front of her the whole time. So I don't think he's been going hell for leather. So I think, she's a good thing. She is.
Yes, we like that. Say it with confidence. And that's exactly the way that she's been priced up as well. Epatante. Andrew, can you find a way to get a beat?
I don't find many weaknesses in Epatante. I mean, she's raced in Grade 1 company 13 times since winning a listed handicap hurdle at Newbury back in November 2019, winning 6 of those 13 starts, placing in the others. She's going to outclass this lot, isn't she? Racing Post ratings have her 14 pounds ahead of the field. I mean, unless there's been a setback which we haven't been told about in the last month, she should really win this quite comfortably. Obviously, when we talk about certainties and good things and lump on, we have to be a bit careful because we talk about responsible gambling, and horses can get hampered, brought down, unseat, fall. So don't go mortgaging your house. But if you've got 2 houses, mortgage one of them.
Sound advice. Sound advice. Or mortgage for second home. If any of you are lucky enough to own one in this current climate, then then it's definitely worth it. Otherwise, like you say, you do make a very serious point though, that we do preach responsible gambling as always. So a lot of this, of course, is tongue in cheek to a large extent. Anyway, so that wraps it up with Epperton winning the Yorkshire Rose Mares Hurdle. Back to Cheltenham now for the Grade 2 Cotswold Chase for 5-year-olds and over 3 mile 1 at 225. Lots of Gold Cup potential pointers in here. This could be very informative, Andrew, but who wins it?
Yeah, it's a cracking race, isn't it? 6 runners, but it's really difficult to pick between them. And it's typical of this race. You often get this kind of size field, but it's very hard to sort of pick between them. One thing that does stand out about this race is how well front runners have done. We've often seen horses try to win this from the back of the field and fail, often at short prices. I think Cape Tribulation was the only horse in the last 10 years who's won this under a patient ride. So, pace-wise, you've obviously got Frodon, who's won this previously. Interestingly, the last couple of years, Frodon's running the King George and then not been seen until Cheltenham. But when he does rock up in January or February, he does really well. Since his debut for Paul Nicholls, 6 wins from 8 starts and 2 defeats, both in Grade 1 company. So, Frodon has won this race before. And I thought he could go well from the front again in a race that obviously favours his running style. The other one I was looking at was Dusart, who I was keen on in Long Presso's race at the Cheltenham Festival last year. He did well. He was the 20-1 8th favourite out of 9. The only horse bigger than him was 150 to 1 shot, and he's outrun his odds to finish 5th. He then went to Ayr for the Champions Novices Handicap Chase, and he won that in game fashion from Sounds Russian, who's a shorter price than him here. I think there was only about half a length between them that day. First time back, he was favourite for a handicap hurdle, but that stuck, didn't it? Because it looked like a sort of comeback exercise, and the yard won it with Captain Morg. So I wouldn't read too much into that. That will have brought him on, and I think Dusart could have a say at the spring festivals, whether it's Cheltenham, Aintree, or Ayr, or 2 out of the 3. So at the prices, I've got to side with him because he's around about 14 to 1. Protectorate, I wasn't massively keen on it because he might be held up. Noble Yates, you've got to respect Emmett Mullins when he runs a horse in Britain. I think he's something like sort of 5 wins, 3 seconds from his last 10 runners in Britain. And then Ahoy Senor. It's difficult, isn't it? Will he get in a battle for the early lead with Frodon? Will he just clout the first and pull up and then be seen over hurdles next time? It's a tricky one, but I'll go Dusart over Frodon. I'll probably just throw a few quid at the reverse exactor as well.
Oh, nice. Likeable prices as well. Dusart, the outsider of the field at 14 to 1, 17 to 2 currently about Frodon to be playing those. So gets those at the head of the market. Daryl, who are you siding with?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you, Kate. The race conditions of this race are very strange. Like, you get a penalty after September the 30th if you've won a listed or a Grade 3 Premier Handicap. And upwards, obviously. So, this race always seems to just favours the Grade 1 horse because, those horses, there's a lot of horses end up stepping up in grade, end up carrying penalties. Like, Frodon's got a penalty, I think, for his Badger Beers win. I think Korak Rambler was in here. He would have had a penalty for his Ultima Handicap win. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, really. For that reason, I'll just tentatively start with Protectorate. I thought he was brilliant at Haydock. I think he's the one that's got the most class for me. There was nothing wrong with his 3rd in the Gold Cup behind a Pluto when the race they didn't go hard enough, test stamina enough for him. I think he'll have the ground that he wants today, and he's a horse to sort of keep on side the first couple of starts after a wind operation, and then he must have problems with his win because he needs it quite regularly. So while he's in this sort of form, I don't see why I should side against him. Noble Yates, when I watched his Aintree run, right, I thought, oh my God, it's a Gold Cup winner there. But then I did remember, sort of the more I've sat there and watched it, is that so many horses, Aintree makes a lot of horses very impressive. So like the last day, for example, Brave Siaska recently, and they don't tend to back it up. I didn't think he was entirely at home here in the Ultima last year, albeit the target was the Grand National. So he does have a little bit to prove for me. I don't think Protectorate has all that much to prove. So I think he's probably the most likely winner.
Oh, like it. Yeah, so Protectorate then. I remember you saying that about Noble Yates. I've had it in my head ever since, because like you say, I was one that, well, it doesn't take much for me to get carried away anyway. But I thought, God, he's, like you say, he's a Gold Cup horse. And then he started going into the form and started delving through it. And the more questions I then started to ask. So yeah, this is going to be really telling for Noble Yates, I think, this.
Yeah.
But yeah, Protectorate, like I say, is far more of this solid play over time, and I mean, along with Brave Man's Game again, is hopefully going to be a leading hope for the British come the Gold Cup itself. Now back to Doncaster for the Albert Bartlett Riverdon Novices Hurdle. This is a Grade 2 contest for 5-year-olds and over 3 miles at 240. We like to think of this as a potential Albert Bartlett trial, but that hasn't necessarily been the case in the last few years anyway. But Daryl, who do you like?
I'm at the top of the market again, unfortunately. I like Stay Away Faith, Paul Nichols. Spoke to Charlie Davis about this horse on the Betfair podcast the other week, and they think he's improved a hell of a lot from his first start to his second start, and it kind of concurred with what I thought about him, because when he ran at Newbury, I thought that he was just quite stuffy. He was very green as well in stages. If you watch closely, when under pressure, Harry never got really serious with him after the third last, sort of just kept him under hand and heels, and then when he really went for him, he picked up nicely. I think the step up and trip's going to suit. He does have a bit to prove in terms of some of these a stronger standard, but I do think he's the most promising horse out of the lot. If there's a horse that's going to go on to run in the Albert Bartlett, I think it could be him. I think that is the plan from the yard, from speaking to Charlie, and he's around 25-1 if you want to back him before this. But is
that in the market without the Irish horses?
No. Look, if he puts in a good performance here, like you've seen the anti-post markets, he puts in a good performance here.
I tell your point, but it's just is a British horse going to win an Albert Bartlett?
You try to say we're not battle hardened over here.
Well, with the Mullins and the it's just.
Well, you say that, but you've got Embassy Gardens as 7-1 second favourite for the Albert Bartlett, and he did absolutely nothing by beating absolutely nothing last time. So the race is completely wide open at the moment. Look, he may not win the Albert Bartlett, but there are ways to play and get out before he runs in the Albert Bartlett. He's a 25-1 shot. If you want to back him there and then trade some off, that's another betting option that you can do. But I think he'll go well here. And second start after Windop, Paul's got a 32% strike rate at Doncaster in graded races over hurdles. Lorcan Williams is no slouch in the saddle either. So I think the trip will bring out a good source of improvement in him.
Yep, the Stay Away Faye. And if he does go on to win this, regardless of the manner of victory, such as the anti-post markets nowadays, you can guarantee it will be a sea of blue about his Albert Bartlett's price anyway. So like I say, just flagging up the price that he is currently, if you think that he is a nice horse, he will if he goes and wins this, he will be cut in. So yeah, there's a good way to play it now. Andrew, who do you like?
Yeah, I like the favourite Stay Away Faye. That form's starting to work out quite well, isn't it? I mean, he's a geezer, the runner-up, went and beat my Show Manucci at Hereford next time very narrowly. Egbert's won since. It looks solid, doesn't it? It looks like a good race, and as Daryl said, he should be sitting by the step up to 3 miles. So he's the one for me. You'd have to give a bit of respect to Twig for Ben Pauling, given his good record in this race. He's won it 3 times in recent years. He's also got Rock on Cowboy, the 66-1 outsider. But yeah, going through this, I was struggling to get away from Stay Away Faye.
Oh, perfect. So both of you in agreement then about the current fav with Stay Away Faye in that Grade 2 Riverdon. Oh, the same. Right, Grade 2, more Grade 2 action up now. This is the Cleeve Hurdle for 5-year-olds and over 3 miles at 3 o'clock back at Cheltenham, where dear old Paisley Park bidding for a 4th win in this race. So Andrew, can he win yet another Cleeve Hurdle?
Yeah, every time I take him on, he seems to come back a win. He hasn't won back-to-back for a while. So, maybe that's at the back of your mind that, he could struggle again. But you look at the opposition, it's pretty weak, isn't it? I mean, Gelino Bellows reverting from fences after that fall in the Quarto Star Novices Chase at Kempton. That would be an obvious concern for this one. And he jumped out to his right as well, didn't he, in his earlier Chase start? So you just wonder whether ultimately he's going to prove better, going right-handed. He's had 2 runs here, one on the old course, one on the new course, both over hurdle. He's been beaten both times. He's finished second, but he was a short price. Dashel Drasher, his stamina is not proven. He looks like a sort of 2.5, 2.6 horse, doesn't he? Wonderful horse though he is. You've
Yeah.
got to love him. You know, he is a 10-year-old as well, and he is running over a trip beyond his best. Molly's Ollie's Wishes has had 7 starts against the boys outside of Mayor's Only Company. She's lost all 7. Lord Accord is a good ground autumn horse who's reverting from fences. Gold Tweet, I mean, this is Gold Tweet was favourite when finishing 4th in a handicap hurdle in France last time. Picked up 8.5 grand for his troubles, and now he's, you know, if he finishes 3rd here, he won't even get that much.
I know, why are you bothering to spend the money to come across and you've got that on
yeah,
offer?
you kind of wonder, is it because they're selling the horse and maybe he's already been sold and perhaps he's going to rock up under, you know, different colours and a different name next time, or maybe even on Saturday? Or is it because he's just not that good, and if they could win a race, a comparable race in France, they'd be running in France? So yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. I'm going to chance Botox Has, who I put up for winning that formerly the Fixed Brush Handicap Hurdle at Haydock a couple of runs ago. Was a massive eye catcher in the Per Temps qualifier here at the October meeting when I think it was 7 of the first 8 came from midfield or further back. He was the only one of the prominent racers who figured. He was second to shoot first. So he won well when heavily supported in a huge field at Haydock next time. Came back here for the Relkeel on New Year's Day. 2.5 miles was too sharp, too short, and did a bit too much too soon. Disappointed, admittedly, even allowing for that. But maybe back up to 3 miles. Hopefully getting a fairly sort of an easier time on the front end this way rather than in a 4-way disputed lead like in the Relkeel. Maybe Botox Has a double figure price can outrun his odds, but you can't help but thinking that Paisley Park's going to be looming up there on the outside in the closing stages and do you by 11.5.
Yeah, no whipping around at the start this time, please, Paisley, just to create extra drama then. But yeah, like I say, just been staying up the hill. But Botox Has already been backed in from 14-1 to 11. All the same is the way Andrew's playing this. Daryl, what are you doing?
Yeah, I just think Paisley Park will win. I think he'll drift in the betting. I think money will probably come for like one of the lesser exposed horses like Gelino Bello or Botox Has. But I think Paisley Park's the grade 1 horse in the field, isn't he? Lots of negatives, as Andrew's touched on there for a lot of the other runners. Lord Accord is only in here because he's protecting his Ultima handicap. That's why he's in here. So 4 of the last 9 winners of the Ultima have actually run in this race. So worth keeping an eye on him, how he goes. But yeah, this is just a spin for him. Gelino Bello's obviously very interesting, but he's never run above 150. So it's hard to sort of have confidence in him coming back over fences. Botox Has, for me, his profile suggests he runs 2 good races and then tails off. And I can't get away from that. So I couldn't have him the other. I just think Paisley Park wins. I just hope that Dash or Drasher goes hard enough for Paisley Park, because if not, Dash might just last out, So I think it's between the top 2, but Paisley's the class act in the field. Fingers crossed he can go on and win this and win the Stayers Hurdle.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Like I said, the Stayers Hurdle itself looking wide open still. So yeah, at the age of 11, dear old Paisley, what an unbelievable story that would be. An unbelievable story that he continues to write, this horse. Now, one of the feature races of the weekend is at the Sky Bet Premier Handicap Chase for 5-year-olds and over 3 miles at 3:15 at Doncaster. So Daryl, back to you for this one, please.
Oh, I like Windsor Avenue.
No, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I do.
That.
I do. I like Windsor Avenue for this. Last year's winner. He's got an outstanding record in January. Like, it's ridiculously good. So last year he won this race. That was his only start in January. The year before, in January, he finished 6th to Dash or Drasher over 2 mile 5. So it was a bit of a messy race. I would put a line through that, right? And only because the year before he fell 3 out when challenging for the Outcar Novices Grade 2 chase over Sam Brown. He fell. I think he would have won that day. The year before that, in January, he bolted up by 15 lengths in the Novice Hurdle. The year before that, he bolted up by 9 lengths in a Sedgefield bumper. I think he's just got a good record at this time of year. Like last year, he did the same thing. So he mimicked what he did last year this year. So he pulled up at Aintree and Wetherby this year. He did the same last year. But he's bounced back from pulling up before. So it wouldn't worry me. I think he quite likes it here at Doncaster. He's finished 1st and 2nd. The second he was found to be I think he was lame or scoped badly or something like that. So I'd put a line through that. But I think this is a lesser race than what it was last year when he won, and he's £2 lower. I think there's lots to like about him at 20 to 1. I don't think you get too much competition for the lead. So I'd have take a good chance on him at 20 to 1. The other one I'd probably just have a stab at again is Under Supervision. Obviously the horse disappointed at Newbury for us last time, but he returns to Doncaster where he beat Mr. Malarkey back in March. He's still relatively unexposed, and I do think there is a bigger pot in him. And it could just be this one back at Doncaster. He could end up turning out to be a horse that always runs well at this venue, because this Doncaster track is very strange. Course form is replicated here more than anywhere else that I seem to find. So those would be my two against Phil. But if you put me down to one, it'd be Windsor Avenue.
Oh, wow. Yeah, all in then. Windsor Avenue, 20 to 1. I mean, would you even side with him each way, or would you just be going win?
Probably just go win.
Probably just
go win only, yeah. No,
yeah,
I might side because he's going to front run. I might side with him each way, just in case he gets sort of picked up, or something.
Yeah, if he does still run his race. Yeah, like I say, if he does still run his race on the front end, comes back to Ballymore. Oh, he's just such a ragamuffin. Honestly, I really weirdly like the horse, but 20 to 1 though, very fair price about last year's winner. We know that Ross Chapman will have his work cut out for him to maintain him up with the Vanguard all the same, but you'll also be backing Under Supervision, 16 to 1 then about him as well. Andrew, who do you like?
Yeah, Windsor Avenue for the same reason. He's £5
God, what is going on in the world?
He's pulled up in 4 of his 5 runs since winning this last year, but this is the first time he's had good ground since. And again, we've seen often in recent years, it's been a front runners race. It's been an old boys race. I think the last 4 winners were aged sort of 10 or 12. And often they just don't come back to the field. I mean, you look at it last year, you had Windsor Avenue, winning, led, headed, press leader, blah, blah, basically disputing with Storm Control throughout for the Kerry Lee yard. Now, the other one I was interested in was Demachine for Kerry Lee. Now, he was only 5 to 1 for this race last year, an absolute stinker. But then the jockey got off and said he made a noise, and after that he had a wind operation. He won first time back after the wind surgery. That was in late May. Then he was second to the superstar Zamza at Newbury on his reappearance this term. And then last time out, 2.5 miles, a bit too short, ground too soft. Didn't run badly behind Midnight River. On New Year's Day at Cheltenham, 7th of 16 was a 20 to 1 shot, kept on at the business end. So as long as he's not too far off the pace in the early stages, I thought Demachine, sort of 12 to 1 or thereabouts, could go well. T for Free has been very progressive since joining Charlie Longston, and since undergoing second bout of wind surgery, I should say, and returning to fences, winning 4 from 4. Conditional jockey got a poor record in this race. I haven't won in the last 10 years from many you've tried, but you assume T for Free is just going to be going from the front as well. So, those are the ones I'm looking at. I'll probably split between Windsor Avenue and Demachine, 2 different running styles, just in case Windsor Avenue and T for Free do get a bit of a ding dong from an early stage. GA Law I wasn't hugely keen on at 11 to 4, given that he's up in trip.
Yeah, so not overly keen on him, but Demachine and Windsor Avenue. Honestly, you two have a weekend off of jump racing, and you've come down on Windsor Avenue just to completely throw me now. I don't know. Everything's gone mad. I can't bring myself to do it, but I have got a selection in this that is a similar price or the same, because I like the. What was the outsider of the field? He's actually clipped in from 25 to 1 to 20 to 1. Massive market move for him. Because this, I agree with you, Daryl. I don't think this is the strongest Sky Bet chase we've ever seen by any means. So for all that, I love Galore, and of course, C for 3 is very progressive, but I can't ignore that price about Shanty Alley, because the fact he's run well on both of his starts already this season, second on each of those occasions, the improvement seemingly coming from the wind operation that he had over the summer, and he just instantly reaped the rewards for that on his reappearance start, running his best race since March 2021, before backing that up at Newbury in the Mandarin last time out. I know the Mandarin isn't the race it was, but again, like I say, this is a week of Sky Bet for me. But he was ridden prominently, showed a game attitude once he was headed, so even off of this £4 rise for that second place finish, he remains feasibly treated on his 2021 form. I just hope the ground isn't too quick for him. We don't really know what the ground is at Doncaster at the minute. It's a bit confusing. But 25, 20 to 1, Shanty Alley. I can risk conditions will suit him anyway. And our final scheduled race is from Cheltenham in the form of the Grade 2 Ballymore Novices Hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 4 at 3:35. Lots of runners in here, Andrew. So what are your fancies?
Yeah, really gutted that Nigel Twiston-Davies doesn't run We've All Been Caught here. I think he's so good that he could actually finish 4th or 5th in the Albert Bartlett behind the Irish runners, doing best of the British. Maybe I'll have a match bet with Daryl's Nichols horse if he does actually make that race. But Rock My Way, who chased home We've All Been Caught in a maiden hurdle last time, is very interesting for the Sid Hosey yard. I'm a fully paid up member of the Sid Hosey fan club in this race, got 2 in it, and I will bet them both. Now, so this one, making his rules debut after winning a point-to-point, was 66-1 behind We've All Been Caught. This was when there was quite a strong headwind into the straights, the Cheltenham meeting on New Year's Day. We've All Been Caught, ran a huge race, grinding it out from the front into the wind, into the teeth of the wind, getting no cover. Rock My Way ran a similar race. He thought, well, he's going to drop out the back of the telly in a minute, but he kept plugging away, finished second, only beaten a length and a quarter. He was 14s, then he was 10s, then he was 15-2 in the last couple of hours. So, I mean, obviously we don't know if it's going to be one of those Cheltenham meetings where the inside's cut up, he ends up racing around the inner like Tom Scudamore normally does, and then everything comes late and wide, Paddy Brennan style. But I thought he'd go well. The other one I want to be on is stablemate Way Out. He's 100-1. He was only 8-1 when second at Taunton last time, and again raced on the inside, didn't jump brilliantly. The time before that, he was 10th at Wincanton, again stuck to the swamp on the inside rail. And I think there's more to come from Way Out, particularly now running on a left-handed track again. 100-1, got to be worth a couple of quid each way.
Yeah, definitely. So all aboard the Sid Hosey bandwagon, who just are really firing all of a sudden at the end. I'm pretty sure there's some sort of Gay Calloway connection now between the Sid Hosey yard and Gay Calloway. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure
she's in really good form as well, isn't she?
Yeah, that's it. I believe there's some sort of connection there why both yards are suddenly really on the up again at the minute. So yeah, Sid Hosey definitely the yard to keep on side with those two, and at fair prices for the pair of them. Daryl, who do you like?
I don't know, to be honest. I think it'd only take a mid 130 performance to win this, and Pembroke's already done that, and he was quite impressive in doing so at Ludlow. So he was sort of where I was drawn to. I thought Henry II's bumper form is really strong, but I thought the hurdle form last time at Sandown was very weak. That then led me to believe that maybe I should start looking at a second season novice in Can You Call, who was very impressive last time at Utoxeter when he absolutely hacked up. He's a horse that's got form that ties him with the likes of Witness Protection, who are all rated in the 130s, and that might be good enough to win. He's an improving horse, but he's the older horse, 8-year-old. So I came unstuck with it. I couldn't. So I sort of thought that Rock My Way should have probably been second favourite for this, but now its price is just sort of crashing in front of my eyes. It's not going to be enough time to get on and get it out and do that sort of thing. So I kind of just sat back and didn't really have a strong opinion. Sorry, Kate. I just spoke a lot for nothing.
Do not apologise. The amount of races, dear God, we've covered today where we've had the opinions, that is absolutely fine, but still offering us insight and ways to play our final scheduled race anyway in that 3:35 at Cheltenham. So Daryl, I'll go back to you. If you've had time to look at anything else, we've covered a lot, but did you have anything from anywhere else?
Yeah, I do. So Cheltenham, I'm going Saturday. So the 11:40. I think I really bloody like this Jupiter de Gite.
Yeah.
It was an excellent time at Newbury last time. I think he's going to take a world of beating in the first race at 11:40. In the 12:10, I think Fire Dancer could be a 145 minimum horse, and he's running off 120. So I think he's got a fantastic chance. Over at Utoxeter in the 232, Raf McNee and West of the Bridge. I'm going to back them both. West of the Bridge got a good record at the turn of the year. And the final one was just to keep an eye on in the 410 of Comprond. He's 28-1. I know he's off a mark of 147, but he was brought down in the Lanzarote last time. 2 chases didn't go to plan, but last year he bolted up at Punchestown and looking like he could potentially be a graded horse. So keep an eye on him. I might have a couple of quid just to save on him, but Camprond is also interesting.
Yeah, he's a massive price, isn't he? 28-1 Camprond at the minute. When do you ever see that horse at that price? Yeah, so like you say, have a few quid on him, but plenty of other ways to play Cheltenham and a Utoxeter race there as well for Daryl. Andrew, anything from anywhere else?
Yeah, the 410 at Cheltenham, punctuation for the Paddy Brennan yard fits the stats of the race, and the yards won this previously will be particularly of interest if the wide route looks to be favoured as well, because Paddy Brennan's on board. In the Timeform Novices Handicap Chase, the 12:10, I thought the brakes might be off Unexpected Party, who makes his Handicap Chase debut, but the market seems to have got that covered. He's only about 9-2, I think, at the moment. And that's it from me.
Oh, grand. Well, that's all right then. But like you say, yeah, Unexpected Party, thought you'd be hoping for a bigger price than that, or are you just going to leave him to it now that he's 9-2? So, yeah, we'll see about him in that first time at Tonto. The same. Right, Andrew, back to you, please, for your nap.
Oh, crikey, I've completely forgotten you were going to ask
Funnily
that.
enough, what a surprise. That was my nap that you would forget I asked you for a nap.
Yeah, I'll go punctuation in the 410 at Cheltenham.
Oh, cool. Okay, punctuation it is. Daryl, your nap, please.
Oh, the Paddy Pies just led all the way, other than the line at Wetherby.
Beat 2 lengths, man. What about?
Eh?
Led everywhere bar the line.
He led everywhere other than the last
Which
20
race are you
starts.
watching? Oh,
Are you joking, are you?
The master of multitaskers here. Great
We'll
to
see-
see
we'll
you've got
see
tunnel
what-
vision for this podcast. Prepare
We'll
me
see
watching
what his
this
in odds were then. Jupiter the Gite in the 1140 opener at Cheltenham. I think he could be pretty useful, and I think he's the British's best chance in the Triumph Hurdle.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a bit of a freak, and I like Gary Moore's words about him in the week where he was like, "Well, that was unexpected," but yeah, hopefully he is a freak. And I'm going to go dear old Paisley, because 5-4 is just an unbelievably fair price for me. Paisley Park in the 3 o'clock at Cheltenham in the Cleeve Hurdle. So that is everything from us this week. Bumper edition of this week's GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by Bet UK. Thank you to Daryl and to Andrew for all of their hard work as per usual. Enjoy the action this weekend. Best of luck with your bets, and we'll speak to you again next week. Goodbye.